Good morning. It's Tuesday, October 25th, 9:30 a.m. If you'd all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you all please keep standing, would like a moment of silence to recognize the tragic passing and sudden passing of Sharon Creswell, employee of the auditor's office for several decades. Just remembering her and her family. Thank you. All right, I'd like to start with a prayer, please. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Father, we beseech your divine guidance in this meeting. Keep us ever mindful of our obligation. Grant us, dear Lord, wisdom, tolerance, and courage, that we may well serve our county and fulfill our trust.
Amen.
I think your microphone went.
Is the green light on?
Now it is. That's better. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
every
All
time
right.
you moved it,
It went
it turns
off.
on.
Jeez, okay. All right. We do have minutes, Commissioners' meeting on 18th, as well as the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the public hearing on the 18th and the regular minutes for the 18th.
Second.
Moved in second. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes. We do have, beginning the agenda, a resolution commending Lowell Filek for his 31 years of service with Medina County. Whereas it has come to the attention of the Board of County Commissioners that Lowell Filek will retire from Medina County Engineer's Office on October 31st, 2022, and whereas Lowell was hired on September 9th, 1991 as an engineering technician and concluded his career as a computer operations administrator, and whereas Lowell has been an invaluable and trusted employee. He worked countless hours providing technical computer support for Medina County Engineer and all county agencies. Lowell chaired the Medina County Data Board for many years and helped implement the computer network used by all county offices. Lowell has been a true team player and a credit to his profession. And whereas Lowell's many years of service to Medina County are greatly appreciated, whereas the Board of County Commissioners wishes to recognize and honor Lowell for his commitment and diligent work during his career at the Medina County Engineer's Office. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Medina County, Ohio, that Lowell be and is hereby commended for his 31 years of service with Medina County. Be it further resolved that the board wishes to take this opportunity to offer best wishes to Lowell on his retirement.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved in second. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes. Comments? Bill? Colleen?
Lowell, thank you for your service. You've done a great job over the years with the data board, which is primarily where I have worked with you. Also, many years ago, when I was the law director, or when I became the law director, you were really helpful for me in getting maps of the village and other data from the county, which was a real benefit. So, thank you for your service. I wish you the best for you and your family, and for many years to come.
Yeah.
For many years, I was part of the data board when I was county recorder with Lowell, and over the years, he was very patient with me, teaching me acronyms such as VPN and everything else that I didn't understand high-tech-wise, and so I always appreciated how kind and wonderful you were. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to come forward? Give you this.
Does anyone else going to have comments about? Andy? Thank you.
There you go. Oh, you're welcome. Congratulations. There you go. We need to put this down. This thing. Thank you. Want to have your say now?
Sure. Well, thank you for everybody for attending. I know you're here just for this. No. Okay. But, no, I do want to say thank you for the kind words and for all the support through the years. I trust the county, and I know the county's in good hands, and we'll continue on well. Thank you.
Thanks, Lowell.
Now we'll open up for a public comment regarding pending resolutions. Anyone? Well, seeing none, we'll go ahead and start our resolutions. So our first office, county engineer, I didn't, whether Andy or, okay, Dan Becker.
Sorry,
Morning,
you're
Dan.
stuck with me. Sorry, guys. Let's see what we have.
Got 4 resolutions for your consideration today. The first is authorizing the Medina County Engineer to advertise for bids for the 2023 River Styx Road Improvement Project. The second is authorizing Medina County Engineer to advertise for bids for the 2023 Substation Road Improvement Project. The third is approving plans, specifications, and estimated cost, and authorizing Medina County Engineer to advertise for bids for the resurfacing of the River Styx Road project. And then the fourth is a necessity to close Lake Road between Greenwich Road and State Route 224.
I'll make motion to approve the 4 resolutions.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Jeremy Sinko, sanitary engineer. Good morning.
Morning,
Morning,
Jeremy.
everyone. 3 resolutions for consideration today. The first is authorizing the sanitary engineer to advertise for requests for proposals to repair a 1 megawatt generator at the Liverpool wastewater treatment plant. The second is authorizing change order number 1 for the 2021 home sewage system replacement project, contract A. And the third is establishing public hearings for the consideration of recommended amendments to charges and fees imposed at the Medina County Solid Waste Management District facility.
Make motion to approve the 3 resolutions.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent,
Thanks,
very good,
Jeremy.
thank you. Next, the much-awaited Richard Nelson, Chief Building Official.
Thank you for that introduction. Good morning.
Morning, Richard.
The Building Department presents 1 resolution for your consideration that changes to our fee schedule be adopted, which provide a permit cost reduction schedule by percentage for large-sized buildings, starting with buildings which are over 100,000 square feet, and to be effective November 26th.
Make motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second, point out we had public hearings, there was nobody in the public to make comment, but this is, I think, a common sense reduction. We'd never anticipated to have such large-scale buildings come, and it just is a reduction that fits the level of effort that the department exerts, rather than over-collecting a fee that that's not really needed.
Correct.
For that, so. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Richard.
you. Good job. Denise Testar, Planning Services Director.
Good morning.
I have 2 resolutions for your consideration. The first is authorizing the Department of Planning Services to purchase playground equipment for the CDBG-funded Village of Lodi Park improvement through the State Cooperative Purchasing Program. The second is accepting and awarding a bid for the CDBG-funded Montville Township Park Improvement Project.
I'll make motion to approve the 2 resolutions.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Denise. All right. Next, our Human Resources Director, Holly Murin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Holly.
On our personal changes resolution today, we have 2 new hires, 1 in building and 1 in IT, 1 promotion at Job and Family Services, 3 rate increases, 1 in sanitary, 1 at Office for Older Adults, 1 at Job and Family Services, 2 leave of absence in sanitary, 2 resignations, 1 in maintenance and 1 at Job and Family Services, and 1 probationary removal and maintenance.
Make motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I mean Lang Galvin, our Assistant County Administrator.
Good morning, Amy.
I have 18 resolutions for your consideration this morning.
Mhm.
The first one is amending the appropriation measure resolution. The second is amending the 2022 appropriations resolution by transferring appropriations. Third is revenue adjustments for various funds. Fourth is cash transfers for various funds. The fifth is the resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. Resolutions 6 through 13 are all to create various funds and to authorize appropriations. The 14th is approving a sub-grant agreement with Granger Township to receive additional ARPA funding from the township to be administered by the county for Granger Lakes condos water plant improvement project. If you recall, the trustees had considered some allocation and they came to the conclusion they were going to donate 15,000 of their ARPA dollars. So this adds to the 162,000 the commissioners approved to bring them up to a 177,000 contribution.
Great.
The 15th resolution is directing a portion of the county's ARPA funds for the provision of government services to the extent of the county's reduction in revenue resulting from the COVID-19 public health emergency to cover payroll and benefits incurred on or after March 3rd of 21, ending December 31 of 2024. What this is the second step of utilization of the 10 million revenue lost revenue dollars, and 350,000 of it was already committed to veteran services. So that's why you see the figure in here is
Okay,
$9
I wondered about that. Yeah,
650,000.
Right.
Resolution 16 is providing for the funding of optional redemption of certain of the county's outstanding various purpose bonds. These are the Series 2015 dated February 23rd, 2015, and authorizing and directing the call for the optional redemption of those two bond series. 17 is allowing expenses of county officials. And 18th and final is approving claims for the week in the amount of $2,449,339.28.
I'll make a motion to approve the 18 resolutions.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? I just want to provide some comment. One of the resolutions involves involving authorizing the necessary tax levies. We had this before us several weeks ago. And this where it identified the necessary millage to be collected for the various county entities under our taxing authority, as well as authorized by the voters. And we held it until such time as we had a budget hearing with the DD board, with the Medina County Board of Developmental Disabilities. Very clearly, there still is a issue pending before the Budget Commission in discussing with the county prosecutor of the various issues involving the carryover and the expenses and so forth. It appears that with regards to setting the millage, that's best left to the clearest authority is the Budget Commission, not the commissioners. As I understand the budget, if there is, if you will, excess revenues and so forth, the commissioners as a taxing authority have the ability, as I understand, clear authority is whenever they set the millage to go before the ballot. That was determined several years ago. So largely our function, it appears at this point in time, is the budgeting authority. And obviously the commissioners have, one of our concerns and continues to be that there's adequate, in fact, more money, I believe, and I think many of us believe that more money for services, direct services to those that are eligible to receive DD services, both adults and children, and our emphasis with the DD board that they continue to provide that and try to optimize as much as possible the assistance to those individuals and those entities that are providing those services. In which case we still will be reviewing the budget, but at this point in time, I think we're passing this to go forward so that the tax bills can go out on time. The Budget Commission still has that pending action themselves in consideration. The commissioners will still be providing information to the Budget Commission regarding that issue for the three parties that sit on that for that decision. So I just wanted to explain why we held off, what's under consideration, and of course what the next steps are when it comes to issue regarding, we'll say, excess revenues within the DD budget. All right, roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, very good.
Thanks, Amy.
Next, Scott Miller, County Administrator.
Good morning.
Good morning, Scott.
Just have one resolution for you today. This resolution is authorizing leasing of vehicles for various county departments. There are 17 F-250s for sanitary engineer's office, 5 for stormwater, 13 F-250s for maintenance, 2 Nissan Frontiers for animal shelter, 1 Chevy Malibu for the transit, one Ford Bronco for the coroner and one Ford Bronco for the building department. If you remember, when we first started leasing vehicles, the intent was to recoup the money that we had put into the lease payments, and we did that for the first couple of years. And then all of a sudden, the price of cars increased significantly, especially trucks. The trucks that we've been selling, we've been recouping approximately $17,000 to $18,000 on average for every truck that we've sold. So we're more than covering the cost of these vehicles. Our maintenance costs have also decreased significantly because the vehicles are newer. So we don't have the maintenance costs on the vehicles. So I think it's a great program. These leases range from 24 to 60 months. We were leasing the trucks for 12 months. The resale value on the trucks, it was just astronomical after a year. But because of the difficulty in getting vehicles, we're actually moving to a 24-month lease because we don't think that we'll be able to get additional trucks within a 12-month lease period. So,
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion?
To that point about getting vehicles, I have a friend that has ordered a truck, and it's been on order for 10 months. They can't get it.
yeah.
So,
And to that point, Sheriff Grice called me last week and indicated that the vehicles that he was looking for, he's not going to get them. So
Wow.
we're looking to see what other options might be out there.
Well, this program is certainly working for us now. It's unique and unusual circumstances, and not sure in the foreseeable future if it's going to change. As you point out, if replacement vehicles are hard to buy new, obviously we need to hang on to these a bit longer. We still need them. So I think, but I guess it's hard to argue the financial aspects here has really benefited us, reduced our costs. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
yes.
Hambley?
Yes,
Thank you.
great, thank you.
Scott.
Department updates. Debbie Kiley, Job and Family Services Director. Good morning.
Good morning, Debbie.
First, I have 4 resolutions for your consideration this morning. The first is one authorizing the county auditor to transfer funds from the JFS Children's Services SCPA Fund to the JFS Public Assistance Fund. The next is another one authorizing the county auditor to transfer funds from the JFS Children's Services 4E Fund to the Public Assistance Fund. And the next is we're reauthorizing a contract with the Children's Center of Medina County for visits at the center. And then the last one is just amending our PRC plan for Job and Family Services.
Make a motion to approve the 4 resolutions.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes.
Quick department updates.
Sure, please.
By division. So Child Protective, we do continue to have approximately 149 children in care. We have still 48 foster families. We've lost a handful of them. We did have 55. We're down to 48. So we still have a need in that area from ages 0 to 18. So that continues to be an issue for us. But the division is also still in need of child protective workers and case aides for those workers. I realize that it's difficult work, but it's valuable because I believe we're preserving our future, right, protecting these children. And here's a shameless plug. Now would be a great time to join us because as we've entered into the holiday season, there's 2 events coming up that are impactful for the children in our care. The first is the Holiday Toy Drive. That's November 12th from 9 until 12. It's at the agency. Brian had submitted it into the commissioner's newsletter, and then I did a write-up that will show up in the next one to just kind of continue to make awareness for that. We're welcoming anyone to come and drop off unwrapped gifts. It's nice to have them unwrapped because then we know what age is appropriate and who needs a headset and who needs pencils or something like that, whatever you'd like to donate. And also later in December, we host our foster families and the children that they have in care for the Holiday Lights Festival that's at the fairgrounds. So we purchase those tickets for those families. They go through there and then they stop by the agency and pick up all those gifts that have been dropped off so that they can have them for the holiday season. And of course, Santa Claus is there. And the kids love seeing the guy in the red suit, so it's actually really cute to see the kids loving on Santa Claus. And my dog was there last year, so people loved that too. I brought my dog, and between my dog and Santa Claus, it was a hit. For child support, we actually hired and selected a trainer for the division. So this was all part of a lot of work groups that we've been having among staff and myself. I meet monthly with them to discuss their current design and where we can do better. What are your current processes? What are we doing well? What are we not doing so well? That's also led us to identify better ways that they can utilize technology. Some of the things that they were doing were more pencil and paper, and we've identified a better way to do that. So several team members are prioritizing and piloting those efforts. So before we run those division-wide, they'll kind of like tweak those things and refine them before we have everybody commit to that. So it's an exciting time in child support. And then public assistance, the division is continuing to wait the end of the public health emergency. As you know, it just continues to be extended. And right now it's extended to mid-January of 2023. So we will know, I think, mid-November if it's going to be extended. If it's not extended, there are a myriad of prohibitions and rule extensions that will end. So a lot of work will be upon that division once that happens. We will make sure to communicate. I've held off doing any sort of press releases or anything like that because just knowing that it keeps extended, I want to make sure that once we know that it's not going to be extended, that information is right in front of everybody immediately, because I felt like if I continued to have that information being posted, then it just becomes white noise. It becomes wallpaper. So once I know that is not going to be extended, we'll make a couple public address announcements, just making sure that everyone is aware. My biggest plug for anyone that's receiving benefits, the single biggest thing that they can do is let us know what their current address is. Because so many of the updates that are coming not only from the agency but also from the state are going to come through mail. So if we know what their current address is, they'll make sure that they get those communications that way. So that's it.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Debbie.
Shannon Ryan, our transit director. Time for an update.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good.
The month of September was very steady for transit as far as ridership. We did see an increase of trip denials. This has become a real challenge for transit. I think a lot of the things that we're doing, I know a lot of the things that we're doing in strategic planning will address some of this, especially at our peak times. Ridership, again, pretty steady from last year. Averages just a little bit ahead of the averages, but we're working to become very efficient when it comes to our uses of vehicles and staffing. We've hired a couple of drivers. We have 2 more in the pipeline. Really working on a lot of training. We had an education day. We call it our annual safety training day. HR participated very well for us. We had exercises as far as safety, education about our pilot coming up in Wadsworth, and I'll talk about that in a second. Just looking at the agency demand out there, it's increasing. Office for adults trending up. Veteran services just about average. Job and family always adding people to the service that we provide. So we're seeing strong ridership increases, trending up, I should say. But we're just really working hard. The staff's really working hard to maintain the services we have with our existing services. So going into what we're working on with the strategic planning, we have just got some confirmation this morning from Wadsworth, Robert Patrick, to make sure we can go out and speak to their city officials and educate them on what we want to do, communicate, talk about the pilot, talk about the impact, talk about how we're going to communicate it to the public, which is social media, simple flyers we're working on with maybe door hangers, things like that, to educate pilot on coming for Wadsworth. We're really excited about what the pilot could bring. It will, I believe, as we've discussed in our strategic planning, make us more efficient and much more flexible, especially in the neighborhood region area that we're trying to create. So it's all about marketing right now, talking a lot about how we get the word out, how we educate. There'll be a lot of it coming. We've had 2 days a week meetings with our software providers. We have one day at 11 o'clock. I've got to make sure all the software is working. It should. It's just an upgrade on our existing software. So a lot of good things coming when it comes to the pilot. The team's working really hard. I'm happy to say that our vehicles that we had obtained recently should be here at the end of this year. We just, again, got very fortunate. I'm hearing about vehicles, and we have 8 more on the way next year. So we're really, between staffing, the pilot, and vehicles, we've got a lot to look forward to, a lot of work. But you know, the staff is really stepping up to make sure we take care of our passengers. So that's what's going on.
Very good.
Okay. Any questions?
All right, no. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stacy Malakar, Medina County Board of DD Superintendent. Good morning, and thanks for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Stacy.
How are you? Nice typo. I
Thank
like
you.
that. Couple updates. First, I want to start off and introduce our new SSA director. Sabrina Johnson is here with me
Good morning.
today.
Welcome.
She replaces Jolene Carlson, who has since been hired down at the state. Sabrina comes to us with a wealth of experience both with Summit County as an SSA manager, and she was most recently a director at Koinonia Enterprise, which is a large provider agency. So we're very happy to have her. She's been here for 4 weeks. She still keeps coming, so we're very happy about that. Just a couple updates on reoccurring things. DSP workforce crisis, we know that continues on. It's at the top of our list, and it continues to, you know, have a negative impact on the people that we serve. You know, making sure that they are receiving the basic needs that they need. It's compromising that. So we're continuing to work on that, which makes it very important that we continue to support our providers. You had asked for some information about what we have done with our providers, so I've created a nice little, I've got some extra ones here too, I think, flyer that kind of gives you some details on what has we've been providing and occurring. You know, we continue to be creative. We need to continue to be creative to work with a variety of agencies and organizations to ensure that the people we serve are receiving what they need. You know, some of the just basic things, you know, we're working with our local provider agencies for employee onboarding. We've had some of our staff actually go and work for agencies when they had some shortages, where they just didn't have people to meet the shift needs. We've provided a variety and continue to provide a variety of grants and trainings to increase the recruitment and referral of potential people for the direct support professional positions. We are also providing some of the required training as well as some retention incentives for the employees that are already employed with these agencies so that they continue to stay on. And we're also providing some life assistance and resources for the current DSPs to, help them manage some of the more difficult things that may take them away from, coming to work. How can we help with that? So we're continuing to be creative and work with our providers and see what works. And we've had some good success. Yeah.
So just to clarify, DSP,
Yes.
which is a
Direct
acronym,
support professional. Yes, thank you.
Those are the individuals that work directly with the folks,
Yes.
clients, if you will, in
Yes,
the field, right?
those are the people that, they come in and they're assisting them with eating, personal hygienes, Medicaid, medication administration, as well as, taking them out in the community when they're at programs, working with them at the day programs, assisting them with, job follow along. So they're just critical to the success of our folks.
And there's a note on here that across the state, there's a 20% shortage.
It doesn't just affect us. It is a statewide, it's a nationwide. And the difficult thing is that we have been in this crisis, but we know COVID has just exacerbated that and just up the ante. And we know workforce is tough right now.
Right.
When you're looking at wages where you have a DSP, a direct support professional that may be coming in and doing a shift and may be making, right now might be making $13 an hour, which is more than what they were making before. But you've got Taco Bell paying 15, 16, 17, and my job working with an individual may be that I'm doing personal care. I may be dealing with behavioral outbursts. If someone doesn't show, I've got to stay, as opposed to coming into Taco Bell and
Doing your 8 hours and walking out.
and walking
right?
out. So and that's not new. That has been part of our field over the last 10 or so years. But like everything, COVID has just really blown that out of the water, so it's, and I shared with you before too at the Budget Commission meeting that, you know, as county boards of DD, you know, we're working in tandem with our State Department to work with the state legislators to continue to increase that waiver rate, that rate that they receive, because we cannot by law go in and say, Bill, I'm gonna add $2 more to your pay. We can't do that, so we have to do it through the state. So we're looking to, you know, county boards across the state are looking to increase our contribution to those rate ranges.
But you could help the, like you list here, the private companies' budget, so potentially they can pay more through things
Correct.
like purchasing their vehicles or purchasing equipment for them and things of that nature.
We can do things of that nature, and we have, right now, one of the incentives that we're working on that seems to really be taking off is we're providing, with the providers, if they provided their receipts of their fuel costs, we're reimbursing them 25% of that. We've done some things with, right now, for retention bonuses. If staff, if the DSPs are working their scheduled shift and don't call off, you know, we are reimbursing the providers, you know, a couple $100 that they can then pass on to the individuals directly. Currently, we're waiting for the state legislation to pass the 6.5% retention bonus that county boards have agreed to. And that will be retroactive to April. And that was set up as a bridge, because right now the state has done an RFP to look at waiver rates, because they haven't been adjusted in quite a long time. So we're trying to, you know, take that bridge to keep our field moving in the right direction.
So do the providers bill in units like they do for JFS?
Yeah, there's units,
And
day rates, yeah, it's all, yeah.
so that goes to the pay issue of what they can pay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It, you know, it's frustrating.
Right.
Yeah, but we're moving in the right direction. Are we moving as fast as we want? No, but we're moving in the right direction, and we're gonna keep pushing for that.
Very good.
The other thing I want to share with you is that October is the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And I do have a nice little flyer to share with you on that. We've been promoting that. And this month really gives us an opportunity to spotlight, focus on what people with developmental disabilities bring to the workforce. It's one of the most underutilized group of people. And, you know, they bring consistency, they come to work, they don't call off. So, you know, right now, we have, right here in Medina County, we have approximately about 130 individuals that are employed with over 80 businesses. And it's a win-win situation. So we're really proud of not only the individuals, but the businesses that have embraced that.
Actually, one of our newest appointees, as you know, on the DD board, is a manager of a business that actually
Yep.
worked before that
Right.
with it, and spoke highly of the individuals that are working with for them.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity.
Yep.
The last thing I just want to hand in, there was another, this is just a follow-up to another question that you guys had about some staffing at the budget meeting, so this is just for your information.
Okay.
Okay? Any questions that I can answer for you? All right, well, thank you.
We're good.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
support.
Thanks for
All
coming
right.
in. Super.
And welcome, Sabrina.
Yeah, and well. All right. Carol Lawler, Board of Elections. And Heather. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to, well, I only read from the script who was going.
We thought we'd
Well,
come
that's right,
together.
you do have to do things in pairs. I forgot.
You know, bipartisan, right? Okay. Oh, hi, thank you. All right. Well, we start, it's 2 weeks away till Election Day from today. In Medina County, we have over 131,000 registered voters. And we've started our early absentee voting on the 12th of October. So far, in person, we've had almost 4,500 people come through the door and mailed out about 17,500 ballots that were requested by mail. About a third of those have come back to be counted already, over 5,000 there.
And you can track your ballot on our website at boe.ohio.gov/Medina/ and then you'll click on absentee information and then absentee lookup, and you'll put in your information, and that'll provide you with when your application was processed, then when your ballot was, the date your ballot was processed, and when your voted ballot was received at the Board of Elections.
Question that, so can they do through the same process, look at the ballot that is applicable to their precinct?
Yes, you can get a sample ballot
Right.
on the website for all precincts or if you look
specific
up
one.
yourself.
Yourself, yep.
Okay.
Right. And there's several candidates on the ballot, federal candidates like U.S. Senator and U.S. Representative to Congress for the 7th District, statewide, Governor and Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, Auditor, and Secretary of State and Treasurer, the Ohio House of Representatives in the 66th and 67th Districts, judicial candidates for Ohio Supreme Court, 9th District Court of Appeals, and Medina County Common Pleas Court, and countywide commissioner, recorder, and auditor. We have 29 issues on the ballot. Of course, everybody doesn't have all 29 on their ballot, but all ballots have state issues 1 and 2, and 1 countywide issue. The other issues are for school districts, libraries, and other special districts, cities, villages, townships, and there are some local liquor options on the ballot also. So, and Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th. Like I said, 2 weeks from today, polls open from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. But we'd also have early voting.
And so the early voting and voting hours are the same statewide. This week, Monday through Friday, they are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Next week, Monday through Friday, they are 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. with Sunday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And the last day to vote in person at the Board of Elections is Monday before Election Day, November 7th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And like I said, that is Ohio statewide voting hours. That's available on our website and also on Secretary of State's website, which all voting information can be found at voteohio.gov. That covers a broad spectrum of voting questions.
And so Heather, the location is the Board of Elections.
Yes, 3800 Stonegate Drive, Suite C, Board of Elections office.
So,
And for
Thank you.
returns, we also have the secure drop box outside. It's monitored 24/7, cameras, and when we empty it, it's a bipartisan pair, goes out and empties it, and they each have their own separate key to open it, to get it open, and bring the ballots in and put them in the vault.
Okay, so if someone gets asks for an absentee ballot, they get it, but then it's election day, they realize that they haven't sent it in, they haven't cast it. What do they do with their absentee ballot?
Okay, if they're gonna vote it, they need to return it to our office before the polls close at 7:30 p.m.
So they can
On
do it in the
election
drop
day.
box, they don't have to go in?
Either
Okay,
one.
all right.
They can bring it in, because we'll be open, but they can't, if they've
They
requested.
can't take it to the precinct?
They cannot take it to their precinct.
All right.
And if they would decide not to use the absentee ballot, and they go to the polls on election day, they will be required to vote a provisional ballot because they have been already assigned this absentee ballot.
Right. It's just assure that somebody doesn't try to vote twice.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
Yes,
All
so
right.
it's state of Ohio.
I understand.
Election day, they have to have it at our office, by 7:30
Okay,
for it to be counted.
okay. Just want to
Um,
make it clear.
State of
As you know,
Ohio.
A lot of social media chatter about
Yes.
the absentee ballots, what to do, and, okay. all
Yeah.
right.
Different states have different laws, so
That's correct.
people hear and
Yeah.
communicate. There's a lot of misinformation out
And
there.
if they were
Indeed.
going to mail it,
Yeah.
it needs to be postmarked, visibly postmarked the day before the election.
The
Not
day
don't-
before, not the day of the election.
Right, the day
Correct.
before.
And as I understand, in prior years when that was done, that not every post office, whenever they mark it, actually has the date, because of the way they process. And so then that makes that ballot questionable as to when, and I know that's been an issue in the past. So the best idea is to get it in before, if you're gonna do it
Yes.
by mail, or have to actually physically drop it off at the Board of Elections on
Yes.
election day, if you haven't returned it, mailed it before then. Okay.
Right, right.
Okay, very good. All right.
Thank-
Thank you.
you.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
All right. We do have a commissioner resolution supporting the Western Reserve Land Conservancy's Clean Ohio Green Space Conservation Program application for the Westfield Center Village Woods Parks project.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is for the Land Conservancy's application to the Clean Ohio Fund, and there's also going to be another one to the Land and Water Conservation Fund to acquire 44 acres that's right in the middle of the village of Westfield Center.
Ah, okay.
And
All right,
preserve
Very
it.
good. And I know the due date is October 28th, so.
Right, it's coming up.
They're utilizing, yes, so, excellent, super. Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes. We also have a notice of a liquor permit filing. The Commissioners received notice of new liquor permit request from Dolgen Midwest LLC, doing business as Dollar General Store, located at 6300 Lafayette Road, Lafayette Township. This is for a C1 and C2 permit, not requesting a hearing, and this notice is just being provided for the record. All right. Given that, all right, move forward. Open now to public comment. Stan, did you want to say anything, or? Okay, all right, we're good. All right. Anybody else? Okay. All right, now open for discussion. Scott, you want to start us off? You good? Wow, okay.
He had to think about that.
All right. Jeremy? Wow. Andy, since you're here? No. Okay, well. Okay, Amy.
Okay, so the Clemens Nelson wage study. For those of you in the room who aren't aware of the Clemens Nelson wage study, so the whole process in which the commissioners were embarking to prepare a compensation plan, those surveys were done on rates of pay for certain positions that were rated back in 2019. So it was fall of 2019. It wasn't adopted until September of 2021. So it took quite some time to buy into that concept and figure out a way to convey that, of course, to all the employees. Version 2 was adopted in October of 21, and that included the compensation plan narrative. So we had the point factoring and then the letter grades A through M, the positions all scored with a letter grade A through M, and then the narrative to accompany it. Version 3, which is the most recently adopted version, was in March of 2022. And in that one, the point factor scoring key was updated, and the lowest pay grade in M was lifted up to the $12. It had been $10.45. So, and due to the ongoing discussions, Clemens Nelson was brought back on in May to take a look at adjusting the scales. Those pay scales are meant to be applicable for like a 3 to 5 year range. So the fact that it's fall of 22, we are right at that start of that 3-year window in which they would have recommended we look at it anyway. Due to market conditions and some of the difficulties that we've had in filling positions, we wanted to be really specific. So Clemens Nelson was directed to survey 30 positions, and we didn't suggest they resurvey the same positions they did the first time, because some of the positions didn't have many by comparison. County home, for example. There aren't many county homes, so to try to compare those again would have potentially been time they could have spent elsewhere. Given the changes that they've suggested, I would love to have you consider a readoption of the entire plan so people don't have to piecemeal from one resolution to another resolution and so forth. It has in it updated positions. It's color coded. So what you'll see in there is that just by the nature of county business, some of those positions have been retitled. Some of them have been repoint factored and have moved in the scale. Some have been consolidated. So there's a variety of changes proposed to the letter grades and those designations. Those I would recommend be considered effective immediately, if you'd be so inclined to consider this as a resolution for next week. And then there's also effective changes to the pay scale. And those I would suggest be effective with the first pay period of 23. So that would be in December. If you are prepared, I could present this for resolution Tuesday next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think obviously we'll have some further discussions with this. We may want to bump up the effective rate. Well, I guess that would be part of the discussion, whether we can bring the effective date for the pay grade sooner than that. Because I know that we were bumping some of our, because we don't do it annually, we have individuals based up on their annual date when they're employed. When they get raises, this may actually bump them up prematurely. I mean, in other words, that if you're looking at that pay scale, they're not going to get the increase they really ought to be getting, because you're hitting them up in a scale that's actually, within a month or two, is going to be higher. So I think those are the issues that we probably need to discuss as to whether we can do it any sooner.
And if you'd like, we could take a look at the employee anniversary dates
Right.
that are right within this window
Yeah.
of, let's say, October to December, to see if there are any of those that would be impacted by that.
And that's what we need to evaluate. That.
Impacted if they're in a new class.
Correct, because the classes themselves have overlap. So
right. Okay. Yes.
In most cases, I would argue that those that moved up a letter grade are still within the pay grade. They
Right.
just
So they're all good.
are in a higher pay grade, just fall into a different position than they had previously.
Well, I know actually we have some that actually they're already at the peak, and if we're waiting until that actually goes up, that may be an issue.
So those we can check for this last
that's what we need
few
to do.
months.
Yep.
And
Okay.
if you recall, the narrative does provide for those folks to still be compensated. If they are at the very upper level of their scale,
Right.
it's a matter of a percentage formula being applied, and it's in a lump sum form of payment as opposed to
Well, that's what we need to discuss.
a base rate
Okay,
change.
got it. Okay, but
It
I just
does,
want to-
however,
we
stick
need to
with
move
that.
forward. There's no doubt. We've got,
Right.
and I just want to thank you and everybody that's been involved with this as we go through this. Clemens Nelson, and we've had obviously many of those discussions. I'm just glad we're putting this, if you will, setting this for the next couple years in advance, and so we don't have to revisit it next year or the year after. We at least have a little bit of time, and we're responding to the market changes as well as changes in. We closed up some position, as the public generally knows, and we are expecting more from some of our employees in terms of the responsibility, and obviously going to be compensated accordingly. But we need to make sure that we're staying within those competitive rates.
And I do want to thank Holly and Scott and all the
Yeah.
department directors, because there's a lot that goes into this
Yeah.
in terms of department heads rewriting job descriptions, making sure that some of those that are so old are still applicable to the people that are in those positions. Again, revisiting those from a point factor standpoint. We had bargaining contracts that were settled earlier this year. Like, all of those are intertwined, so to speak, in the preparation of this document.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
thanks, everybody.
Good. Yeah, I think we're going to move forward next week for sure.
Thank you.
All right, great. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Holly, anything? All right. Stephen? Denise? Okay, did I cover everybody? Okay. Bill?
I don't have any.
Colleen? Yeah, I did want to bring up, and I know I had talked with Stan Sheets, who is, some of you, well, many of you probably know, he's a frequent flyer here. And one of his issues and certainly his area of expertise was the formation of the Convention and Visitors Bureau back about 30 years ago. The county commissioners back in 1990 and 91 established a bed tax, and under the law that's provided for the that bed tax, that lodging tax, would go for the benefit of a tourism, visitor and tourism bureau. Stan was part of the organization of individuals that came together, formed the Visitors Bureau, and of course then the money from that bed and lodging tax has been used since then for them. Jumping ahead, last several decades, obviously there's been some impact on the industry, the organization itself. Over the years, I think sometimes the Convention Visitors Bureau thought this is an entitlement, they're going to go ahead and get the money. And I know that this is not the only county that has, if you will, this has been one of those nebulous areas in law where tourism bureaus are created, and it has become a question as to the connection between the taxing authority, the commissioners, and the activities of the Convention Visitors Bureau. If you will, I know it has been a long-standing CCAO legislative platform that the relationship between the Convention Visitors Bureau as the taxing authorities, they need to, in terms of reporting and the relationship between them. And that's been an issue of mine for many years and so forth. I know as a legislator, we ended up addressing some of those changes, made some changes there within the law regarding that relationship and how that goes forward. Obviously, I mean, COVID has had an impact on that industry. It's resurging. There was an interest within the Medina County, I believe, within our own county, to see much more of a partnership between our Economic Development Corporation and the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Predates COVID, and certainly after COVID, much more so. Last year, we appointed some members to that. I will point out that there was in 2021, there was a Attorney General opinion specifically about the role of commissioners and the CVBs. In that one opinion, had two basic questions. That one opinion, first off, was the Board of Commissioners lacks the authority to establish a nonprofit Convention and Visitors Bureau. That is a separate entity, even though they're entitled, if you will, that money can be appropriated to them, given to them for Convention and Visitors Bureau purposes. It's not a creation of the commissioners. When this was formed, the commissioners just appoint some of its members. So does not operate as a county department, but they don't have and Lake County apparently tried to create their own, and in which case, obviously, the Attorney General stepped in and says, no, you can't. However, they did say that the taxing authority does have the ability to provide and use that lodging and bed tax to more than one Convention and Visitors Bureau within the county. And that was very clear, because then it's not just one Convention Bureau. It can be given to chambers of commerce that are engaged in that. It can be a countywide economic development corporation could likewise be entitled to that. Having that opinion, the discussion started on my part largely in meeting with Dan Hostetler, as well as Convention Visitor Bureau individuals, is how we can get a partnership between the CVB and our Economic Development Corporation. We appointed 2 members last year, and we received, actually, Stan, I didn't have this yesterday when we met, I'll give this to you, but when we looked, the Economic Development Corporation outlined what they were looking at in terms of moving and creating that partnership. There was changes in the bylaws of the Visitors Bureau, created that, but they ended up, they also provided us, the Board of Commissioners, an outline of what their next tasks are. I know those concerns have been raised as to, because of that temporary, if you will, creation of a 3-person governing board. It was the Medina County Economic Development Corporation chairperson, or executive director, excuse me, one of the staff members for the Economic Development Corporation that was dedicated to tourism, and the third was the commissioner appointee, or excuse me, the commissioner's appointee, and the third one was actually the tourism director. In other words, the executive director of the Visitors Bureau. That was Dan Hostetler. Dan Hostetler has retired. As many of us know, was a transition plan. Hence, there is now an opening in the commissioner's appointee to that because our appointee, Kathy Breitenberger, is moving into the interim as the Convention and Visitors Bureau Director. This is meant to be an interim. There's further discussion going to be had. There is an overall plan in place to move forward and try to establish a long-term partnership between the Convention and Visitors Bureau and Economic Development Corporation, because tourism is economic development. And we can move forward with people certainly with creativity, talent, certainly passion. Stan has the passion for it. He has of course, the interest historically in this, and I promised him when I met yesterday that we'd talk more openly about what was going on in the background. The commissioners, this is, like I said, we're not the governing authority for the Convention Visitors Bureau. They had a board of directors. We appointed members to that, but their decision was to move and create this partnership between Economic Development Corporation, but we still are the taxing authority and can determine where the money goes. And for budget consideration, certainly we commissioners are continuing to support a countywide Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we'll be continuing our conversations as we appoint a new member to serve on that board and to serve and help set the direction over the next year or two, and what they focus on to not only focus on utilizing those bed taxes to support areas of tourism, but likewise, I think, as part of their overall strategy, identify those areas and take opportunities. With the growth in our economy and the growth of tourism and facilities, this is the opportunity, as we see a resurgence of this, to do it in a way that makes sense and where we have a key strategic partnership between one of our strongest entities of economic development and, of course, the Visitors Bureau, who receives the benefits of a lodging tax. We know since the changes and since the Economic Development Corporation staff have been more involved, we've been able to clean up quite a bit. We did not have the administrative rules in place when this board when the lodging tax was enacted, and we took action early this year, I think it was, to clean that up. There's other areas that likewise we're going to continue to address to make sure, if you will, to bring it back, to bring it up into the 2020s and move forward and take the opportunity to have a strategic partnership between those two entities. So I just, as Stan, as I promised, I'd describe what's going on there. This is not, I don't consider it front page news. I can provide you the documentation, shows what the current, or at least as of October 19th, 2021, what the plan is. That is continuing to evolve now that the executive director has retired, moving in, and then of course we'll be making an additional appointment to help set that direction and a new energy to move forward into the next year or two with the Economic Development Corporation working together with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the board, which at this point is advisory, but are the ones that changed the bylaws to accommodate this change and this strategic move of working together with Economic Development Corporation. So I wanted to explain that.
And Steve,
yeah.
The bed tax generates what, $300,000 to $400,000 a
Yeah,
year?
thereabouts.
That is going to be used for the
And we
benefit
know,
of tourism.
and it was significantly impacted by COVID.
Right.
And that industry was hurt tremendously, but it's starting to resurge. We know, too, our efficiencies of collection are improving. Likewise, we'll be considering what to do about the bed and breakfast. We have several of them that actually are are collecting it and providing that bed tax. There's some that maybe are not. So obviously, and actually, the Convention Visitors Bureau portion, or I'll just say Economic Development Corporation, their tourism, are actually contacting these B&Bs and helping assist marketing their efforts. So this is a cooperative relationship, and we're going to continue to increase the efficiency, but also make sure the money is spent accordingly. Every county has kind of a different circumstances when it comes to tourism and a history, and this is kind of an area, like I said, a legislative platform of the CCO has been to help kind of basically revisit that relationship. For some, it's been a problem. For others, it's worked nicely. But I think now we need just basically to take advantage of this resurgence. We now actually can utilize ARPA money even to assist them because they're entitled, because they were decimated or hurt very significantly by COVID. But they haven't needed it. I believe that they can move forward with what they have, but certainly we have the opportunity in the next several years to really, we've got so many activities and so many great forums for people to come into Medina County, stay overnight, and multiple things that were not present in the 1990s. Wadsworth just did their Thriller Night this past week, which is kind of cool. But it's those kind of activities that really speak to the character of Medina County, and we want to, I think, emphasize those great features and encourage people to come and visit, spend money here, and of course stay overnight. And it takes not only utilizing new technology, but as Stan has pointed out in our private meetings, it's also the personal relationships between those that are engaged in the industry. And as the industry is recovering, we want a lot of enthusiasm. We want people involved with our Conventions Visitor Bureau, getting involved with those networks and bringing more people here. So that's the whole aspect of kind of move. But it is a partnership with Economic Development Corporation, right, with many of the businesses that actually are part of the tourism business as well. So, all right, that's all I've got. We do have a request for executive session.
I will make a motion to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation and compensation of a public employee.
Second.
Moving second, roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes, all right. Thank you very much for joining us. If you don't join us afterwards, have a good week. is 11:07. We're out of executive session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Sweattick?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Hambley?
Yes. Everybody have a good week.
I'm heading around.